ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another very special episode of Geeks Who Like Sports. It's one of our leaderboard interviews. We have a very special guest with us today. You can see him on your screen. He's on my left. He might be on your right, depending on if you're watching us. And, of course, if you're just listening to this, you're not seeing anything, so it doesn't matter. But my good friend, Dan Hevia, is here. Dan, how are you today?
Good. If you're just listening, you're missing how handsome I am. So that's a loss on your part. But, yeah, I'm psyched. I'm enjoying quarantine, so it's good to see faces and talk to people.
Yes, this is part of the reason why we're doing it. We're all just trying to stay connected together. Of course, as always, I'm Ray Carcillo, joined also by Lee Elias, the usual hosts of Geeks Who Like Sports, but nobody cares about us. We're here to talk about Dan. Dan, of course, is the director of, I want to make sure I get this right, the director of accounts and partnerships at PowerSpike, they are great because if you are an influencer looking for sponsors, they can kind of help you find that. Or if you're sponsor or somebody wants to sponsor something, to find an influencer that could help get your brand name out there, they'll also do that. So it's a great two-way street. And Dan is an expert at what he does. I've known Dan for many, many years in the game industry. First as a fellow journalist, and then also as a PR guy. We've worked together. We've crossed paths many, many times at many, many conventions, and it's great to have him finally on the show. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember those old journo days. Am I going to get into E3? Am I going to get accepted? That never goes away.
Yeah.
I actually,
fear
for
and
the first
trepidation.
time this year, a little tear left my eye because I was, I guess, not. I didn't have to put in my application to E3. I got the email that said, "You're alumni, and here, you can come to E3." So then they canceled it because that was the street that they had to go down. So yeah.
No,
and PowerSpike, I mean,
Dan,
we do what we do.
Dan, I'll tell you this: you're already an alumni on our show, so you get in whenever you want. You know, I know E3 is a big deal, but you're an alumnus here already. We're not even 5 minutes in yet. That's how much we care.
Yes, that's it. Whenever you want on the show again, Dan, you just let us know. You're welcome back anytime.
And a pandemic cannot strike this show down, so we're good.
Yeah, actually, we're strong. We're stronger than ever because of the pandemic. I mean, obviously, we want the pandemic to end. We're not happy that there was a pandemic.
Yes,
but,
yes, Ray. Yes, we want the pandemic to end.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Some of us are thriving by not going outdoors and just playing video games all day. All right. So no, but of course we feel for everybody out there, all the first responders, all the people on the front lines. Of course we feel for them, and so you know, we're doing okay. We're fortunate. We're very, very fortunate to be doing all right. But yeah, speaking of the pandemic and speaking of those things, by the way, we're recording this on Saturday, April 25th. This will probably air a couple days afterwards. So if there's anything that changes, just wanted to put the time date out there because this way, you know, if you're listening to this down the road, well, obviously, I think something might be a little more dated than not. But Dan, tell us how this has affected you guys, because I'd imagine that if anything, it might actually have been a boon for you guys as well, with a rise in influencers and a rise in, I know I've started Twitch streaming for the first time in my life, and I've got 32 people following me now. Like, you know, yeah, I'm on my way, baby. I got my first trolls yesterday. It was great. Told me to F off for being a Yankee fan. But anyway,
It was me.
Yeah. But I, you know, has this affected you guys in any way, negatively or positively, or is it just kind of business as usual?
Well, I'd say that it's probably changed our strategy a little bit because there is this focus of, you know, everybody's going on Twitch. Once they shut down, you know, all the sports, a lot of the athletes became Twitch streamers really quick.
Yeah.
And a lot of the focus went to Twitch, and we also work with Mixer, but I mean, you know, let's be honest, the majority of it is on Twitch.
Right.
And the good thing for us is that more than anything, we represent the brands. So the brands come to us, and they're looking for Twitch streamers. So we're not beholden to a set of talent that we have to go find sponsorships for. We'll go out and we'll find who's the best fit for the brand, which makes a huge difference to what we do because we're kind of open up to go to anybody. You know, my role is to get those partnerships. So we have partnerships with, you know, all the talent agencies in the business. We talk to all the esports teams, but we also talk to, you know, all the streamers from, having 2 concurrent viewers to, 2,000 concurrent or 20,000 or whatever it is. So more than anything, I think that it's increased the need for speed on our end, because a lot of brands are coming in and they want a quick return. They want to see it because they had expectations built around, the NBA playoffs. They had expectations, they had all this ROI built into what they were looking to do going forward. And now they're trying to, at the very least, kind of reflect the same ROI, but they have a much shorter runway to do it with. So that's where we come in, and we kind of just try and get people as activated as fast as possible. We had one brand come to us this week. They were like, we want people to start as quickly as possible. I know it'll take a week or 2. We had people starting in 24 hours. So we were able to fill these things, and also streamers are replying faster. One of the most notorious things in the world is streamers don't like to reply. Like, I could walk up to you, like with a handful of dollars, being like, take my money, and they'll be like, bro, like, I was on TikTok, and like I know you had money, but like I was doing it, like, and you're like, dude, like, come on, like the responses take so long, but we're seeing a lot faster responses. We're seeing a lot more people willing to step outside of the box of what they normally, products that they normally pitch or things like that. The only drawback is almost a lot of CPG brands. A lot of their shipping or a lot of their manufacturing is tied into, a lot of times, China. So it might take them more time to get a product out or things like that might delay it. So we just have to set reasonable expectations for them, for our streamers, and just keep moving forward. But there's a lot of good coming out of it, a lot of good charity streams coming out of it, and we're partnered with one of the larger charity payment providers that reaches out to streamers to get them to stream for the charity of their choice. A lot of it is COVID related now, so it's been very odd. Our whole company is remote, so that didn't change. Right. But one of the things that I've kind of impressed upon them and impressed upon everybody is anybody that's turned into a work from home situation. This isn't a real work from home situation. You're working from home in the middle of a pandemic. You know what I mean? For myself, I had to become a homeschool teacher while working from home in the middle of a pandemic. So, I mean, those things are all different. I know, the first week of teaching from home, it was, we're going to do this. We're going to get this done. We're going to, you have a test. I can't help you on a test. Now everything's open book. I'm like, you're in first grade. You're going to learn some shit. We're good. We're going. Have fun. So we're trying to kind of be as good as possible, but it's still hard, and not everybody wants to buy stuff, even with their stimulus check. So, because we don't know what's going to happen 2 weeks from now. We don't know if half the country is going to inject bleach and give up their stimulus check, or whatever's going to happen. So I saw an article today, I think in the New York Post, that was there was a rise in ER visits in New York because people were ingesting bleach. And I'm like, yeah. At some point, we have to get past the fact that it's just dumb advice and start going, well, you're pretty dumb. Like, you're ingesting. So, I mean, we're kind of, our company's living and learning. I think all of us are living and learning just as individuals. Yeah. So if we don't come out on the other side of this changed and saying, I might value different things more than I did before, then I think that we probably missed the point. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't want to get political, but I think that Andrew Cuomo hit the nail on the head the other day when he said that we need to. It's one thing to get back to quote unquote normal, but if we don't learn from all of this, then yeah, it was all for. We should take so many lessons from this in all fields, tech, medicine, everything, and we should be. This is a chance for us to really look in on ourselves and really, reflect and hopefully, like you said, come out the better for it. So and he said too. So it's a great sentiment and a great idea, and hopefully that happens. Whenever the end may come, we don't know when that will be. We hope obviously yes sooner than later, but you never know. And then this could, there's a whole bunch of things. This could come in waves and all this other stuff, but we're not going to worry about that. But it's good. I'm glad that things seem to, at least work-wise, seem to be all right for you. I know Lee also going through the now becoming a home school teacher as well, so I'm sure he can relate to balancing work and school with his kids. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Lee.
I'm lucky. I got a kindergartner and a preschooler, so my workload's probably a little less, and we have a lot of flexibility. It's like, hey man, know your numbers, know your letters, and make sure you can read and write, and just be ready for first grade a little bit there. But yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from, man, with everything of just the new work-life balance. I think what's important too, especially in your industry, is because I do a little bit with influencers myself in the hockey world and things like that, and it's trying to express to business owners, like, you hear people say, oh well, when we go back to normal, and I say, you have to get out of your head, there's not going to be a return to normalcy. It's going to be the new normal whenever this passes. And if you're not prepared for that, especially on the digital front, I was saying this, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Dan, is that in 2008, 9, 10 time period where we had the last recession, businesses opened and their customers were gone because so many Americans learned how to get online for the first time and shop online. So there was this massive push onto digital commerce, right? Now the whole world is going to be online. And I said this, if you have internet and you're not online somehow doing something right now, you might have messed up. You know what I mean? So when I look at what you do, are you having conversations like that with the brands of not in an aggressive way, but hey, look, things are changing, and now you can see the value in the platform that we're pushing here, and that you need to rethink about this because this is not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, the way that our first kind of front to them is, we totally understand that this might be new for you, that things are changing and you're reacting to that, and then the normal thing is to seek out to provide as much ROI and as much value as possible to them. But at the same point, giving them an experience of, this is new for you, so we're going to guide you through it. Whereas brands that have been with us for a while, like, they know the ropes. But I'll be more in touch with these brands and more on top of them, telling them this is what's going on, because they're also, not only are they transitioning to digital advertising, but they're also transitioning to working remote while doing that transition. So there's these big things that they're trying to work their way through that become kind of part of their norm, and you have to make it part of their norm. So the way that we kind of, they're saying, oh, I can't wait to get back to the office. And my thought process along that is, like, if any brand is not looking and going, well, we've proven that we don't need to spend $20,000 a month on rent. Who can we hire that, if you're spending $20,000 a month on rent, you can, and say you're paying people, $4,000 a month, you can hire 5 more people to get more things done. And I've always, I've worked remote for 7 or 8 years now. So I've always been very much against, like, commercial real estate. Like, I don't understand it. It's like, let's all drive an hour or waste 2 or 3 hours out of our day to go sit somewhere to open the laptop that I'm going to close and bring home. I don't, it doesn't make any sense.
Logistically does not make sense. It does not make sense.
Yeah. And especially when we talk about, like, we're always talking about housing crisis, and there's homeless people and this. Do you know how many places that you can get for people if you just get rid of a ridiculous amount of office space that doesn't really need to be there?
It's an old style thing.
We live online. Yeah. And I think that's one of the benefits coming out of this, that so many people can take a look at what remote work is, in a sense, and say, all right, well, we survived. How much money did we lose? Did we gain money? Like, where are we at? And on our side at PowerSpike, we're just trying to show them, this is totally viable. This is something that you can totally do. You can advertise on Twitch. You don't have to buy advertising time. Like, why are you buying a billboard? It's 2020. Why are you buying a
So I can put a QR code on it because people are driving.
The only rational billboards that I ever see around me is, there's one right off of 87 near me that is a huge McDonald's logo, and it says, get off at this exit 3 miles. And it's like,
absolutely.
All right, cool. I can do that.
That or like a sports one. Those were good too.
They neglect that there's a McDonald's like a mile before that at a different exit, but whatever. I don't care. It's still McDonald's. There's still going to be that. But then I see like billboards around me for like, you know, hospitals, and they're like, this person got their shoulder fixed here. I'm like, am I going to be driving and be like, damn, I did need surgery? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you spending that money? Hire somebody. Hire a digital marketing team for the money that you're spending on billboards.
I used to teach digital advertising to people, and I would tell them about billboards and the businesses I would see. I said, okay, tell me one phone number from any billboard you've ever seen in your life, right? And they can't do it, right? And then I'll say, like, you know, give me a website. And they might have a couple, but it's a dated technology. Now, here's another question I want to ask you. And like, I'm asking you this, and this is not to throw brands under the bus in any way, because there's always a learning curve. And I respect actually any brand at this point that's looking to Twitch as a new avenue. But the question I have for you is, how green are some of these brands when they come in? You know, are they in touch at all with that audience? And again, I respect them for coming in at all, understanding like there's an audience here. But you know, how green are they? How do they look at that audience? And then if you can you talk a little bit about how you might guide like a brand that doesn't understand the Twitch audience into that space comfortably?
They range. They'll range from complete novices that, you know, just heard about this Twitch thing, or their kid told them about Fortnite. We've had that happen. So we had people contact us that we want to advertise in Fortnite, and I'm like, I can get you in touch with them, but I'm not doing it. It's gonna be very expensive. Very expensive. And then you have brands that are, you know, 1,000% invest in the platform. They make products for gamers. You know, one of our great partners is APC Gaming by Schneider Electric. They make battery backups. So instead of, you know, if there's a power outage, you can finish that round of League and not lose all your stats. You know, everything's not going to go out. You know, stuff like that. In terms of guiding them, we'll kind of take their temperature as to how invested they are on the platform. One of the really cool things is a lot of times people that are coming to us are people that are in these larger companies that might be a streamer themselves, and they pitched it to their boss. So they have to prove it to their boss. And that's one of the cooler things, because we've done activations where they're like, yeah, I'm a Twitch streamer. And like, you look up their channel and you're like, you have like 20 concurrent viewers. Like, people are watching you, but like they have this day job, and they convince their boss to do that. And it's cool because it looks like it's, you know, almost building up their experience for, if they don't want to work here anymore, they could pivot to a different company. And I completely respect that, because I went from the journal world to pivoting and working at 505 Games. And that was always my goal. Like, I was never going to write forever. I was like, I need to build up contacts so I can get a job at a game company. So like with a lot of these, in terms of guiding them, we'll provide them regular updates as to, you know, how many clicks the people are getting, how many live impressions they're getting, how many engagements they're getting, how many banner impressions. And one of the cool things that we do is, a lot of times brands will come up, or companies will come up to the brands and go, well, this person, while he was promoting your product on that stream, they had, you know, 8,000 viewers. But that's an average full stream. We have a Chrome extension where a streamer, when they're doing the promotion, they click a button and it drops a pin on our data. So we could tell you exactly how many people were watching at the exact moment the product was mentioned.
That's cool.
So that it gives better insights to the brands. Like, how much true ROI are you getting from them?
Which is everything to them. Yeah.
Exactly. If you're speaking in their advertising terms, but you're explaining, like, you might not understand this, you know, like if we send them a clip and the chat's going crazy, they're not going to understand. You know, we had a promotion with Express Clothing. They were hiring NBA 2K streamers because Express is built into the game. And they were, you know, they saw this chat, and this chat has an exclamation mark Express. And they're like, why is that happening? What is that doing? You know what I mean? So you're guiding them and saying, like, this is triggering the giveaway that you were doing. So this is all the engagement that you're getting from all these people, how many people are talking, giving them the raw stats of it, but also letting them know that this is different than what you're used to seeing. Because, you know, Google Ads can tell you this is how many people saw your banner, but how many people actually cared about your banner? How many people were reacting to your banner. We can give you that reaction. We also have sentiment analysis. So during the time period that pin is dropped, we can tell you, were people positive? Were they negative? You're not going to get that off of Google Ads. You're not going to get that off of Facebook Ads. So we can speak more to the data while also it almost gamifies it to them, because it's like, okay, well, we're making this thing happen and this thing happen and this thing, and this is how it's all triggering ROI. Versus Google, you give them a credit card and they go, here, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Do I know
That's
that's really what happened? No, but we can show you the proof with clips. So that's the fun part of it.
Yeah, that must be it. Thanks for that insight. I'm super curious about the business world and stuff like that. So thanks.
Yeah, that's
hey, back to you.
Yeah. No, I think that's really interesting. It's a very great deep dive, I think, for sure. I think for people who don't understand that side of the business, who don't understand, I think it's actually very, very insightful. And I think a lot of people, I think especially in our audience, I know definitely me and Lee for sure, are definitely super fascinated by that. So I imagine they're much like the reason why we started Geeks Who Like Sports. We're like, if there's the two of us who are into this stuff, there's got to be more of us out there. So far, so good. So, but we mentioned we talked about esports and stuff. You mentioned before the pros who are now starting to play. You're getting all these pro leagues, MLB The Show, NASCAR, FIFA. What is that? Have you been working more with athletes? Have more brands be like, oh, we want to work with Hunter Pence now, or we want to work with this NASCAR driver? Like, how's that been in terms of reaction and whatnot?
We're talking to a lot of their agents, and it very much comes down to managing expectations of the agents and the brands, because the agents are looking to, make the athletes whole. But at the same point, it's like you don't have the same pull that you have, because, like somebody, a NASCAR driver could come over and be on Twitch, and they're not going to get as many eyeballs as they would get if they're, if your logo slapped on their hood during the Daytona 500. It's not going to happen, especially not right away. If you look at even the largest streamers in the world, it is a slow climb. Even, let's say Ninja streamed to hundreds of people, hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands. And then one night, all of a sudden, Drake wanted to play with him, and he was streaming to hundreds of thousands of people. But that's a 7-year climb. So even with a robust social media account that you could pull people in with, you're not going to get them as many viewers. So relating to them, that a lot of this comes down to how many average concurrent viewers that you have. And the pricing a lot of times is based off of how many concurrent viewers you have. Now, there are differences when it comes to celebrity streamers. If you look at a Dr. Disrespect, he's not going to get the same pricing per concurrent viewer as a normal streamer would. And the athletes are going to fit into that normal streamer point of view, unless it's a large event. If LeBron's sitting down with Michael Jordan tonight to sit there and play NBA 2K20, and their agents come and say, we'd like to advertise, then sure, I'm going to throw a bank vault with them. But, if the eighth man on the Milwaukee Bucks turns around and goes, I've been streaming for 2 months, I really won $20,000. They'd be like, bro, you don't even earn that per game. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just a difference in it. It's a lot of it right now is about managing expectations across the board and making sure that everything is aligned with ROI for everybody, because also streamers are investing their time. So what are they getting back for that investment of time? And making sure that that's realistic to them, because some streamers price themselves out of the ballpark immediately. Some streamers, and I'll tell you right now, if any streamer is watching this, if you have 10, 15, 20 concurrent viewers and you tell me that you have a manager, you're out of your damn mind. There's no reason that you should be having somebody take a cut of your money at all. So
Ray,
I see that.
We should not tell him that I'm your manager, by the way. Don't add that to this conversation. Yeah. I'm not. Don't worry, Dan. I'm not.
Ray's been a manager for so long. just for daily upkeep, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. I just need somebody to make sure I get
maybe I am your manager then, right? Maybe I am your manager. Are you up yet? What?
Somebody kicks me out of bed. Yeah, exactly. Oh, goodness. No, that's really interesting. And it is true because it's like, I watch some of the show league, but it's mostly like relief pitchers, right? It's Amir Garrett for the Reds. It's Tommy Kahnle, who our buddy Jason Finelli was on last week. He didn't really, it's like, yeah, this Tommy Connolly guy. And I'm like, Kahnle. His name's Tommy Kahnle, right? Because they're relief pitchers. They're not the big names of the sport. The big names are still out there probably training, and there's a hope that the season starts back up. Hunter Pence doesn't even have a team, I think. I think he's still a free agent. But
yeah.
Anyway.
And part of it is the transparency of it, where, people that are not, if it's all brand new, it's like, okay, well, you wouldn't be doing this if your season wasn't on pause right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Versus, you see guys from the EDM world where you see like Marshmello, Jaws, Alesso. Those guys have always consistently been within the gaming community. And how kind of tight-knit that gaming community is, where if somebody comes in and they're not authentic, I think that a lot of the gaming community can smell bullshit from a mile away.
Yep. And
they see through that, and they're not going to react to it. So when things that are authentic happen, they react to it. Fortnite the other day, the Travis Scott concert, people react to that because they know that Travis Scott has been part of the game community for a long time. Mm-hmm. Whereas you see somebody come in now, like it would almost be like if A-Rod started a Twitch stream. You know what I mean? It's like, why?
He's got to pay for them. He's got to pay for the Mets somehow, Dan.
Who really wants to buy the Mets? Let's be honest. I mean, come on.
Thank you, Dan, for saying that.
So, it's at least try and buy the Yankees. The Steinbrenners are going.
I was just saying. Apparently, former Yankees try and buy the Mets, so they can have it.
Yeah, just so that they can have something in New York.
Yeah.
So they can be like close to the Yankees. I always liked when I think it was The Onion when Jeter retired, where it was like post game after Jeter's last game. He said, "I will never step foot in this damn Bronx again." Makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So,
that's why instead he bought the Marlins.
Yeah, that's Tom his house, so he's really just disrespecting the whole entire New York City area.
Everybody. Yeah. One of his houses. We don't know if it's the best house.
Tom Brady, I'm sure Gronk is there now.
Oh yeah,
so
I will say
somebody you mentioned Tom Brady being on the phone with Jeter and Jeter going, "No, Gronk cannot stay at my house." And Gronk peeks out from a corner in like a Yankees bathrobe and slippers going, "What did he say?"
Yeah. Oh,
man, no, Gronk. Get back in the house.
I love the video the two of them made, though, where Brady blows into the conch shell, and then Gronk comes running around the corner. He's like, "Gronkowski reporting for duty, sir." It's just like...
Yeah, I saw that on TikTok, which I'm like, if there's one thing that I mildly don't regret out of this pandemic, it's getting wildly into watching TikTok videos. They've made me better at Modern Warfare. They've made me laugh. They've made me emotional. It's been great.
Yeah, some of them are very good. Some of them are very good. I saw one the other day where it's this grandma who doesn't believe that if you put Mentos in a Coke that it'll explode, and it's Frank Caliendo doing his Morgan Freeman impression, basically being like, "Oh, we all know that Martha was gonna make a mistake here," and then she pops it in, and like the Coke immediately explodes in her face, and it's like, "In this moment, Grandma Martha knew what it was like to be an adult film star," and it was just like, it was the funniest TikTok I've seen in forever. And yes, that was from Frank Caliendo. Of course, impressionist comedian, but that was a great one. But anyway, so let's move on a little bit. Speaking about other things during the pandemic, you've got the United Center behind you, Dan. For those of you who are watching the video, of course, Dan is a huge Bulls fan, and of course, the big, super highly rated. Everybody's talking about it like it's an accomplishment. There's literally nothing else to watch. Of course, it's the most highly rated show in forever. But the first two, as of the taping of this, the first two episodes of The Last Dance have been out and aired. And as a Bulls fan, I'm sure you've watched it. I want to get your opinion on what you've seen thus far.
I knew I hated Jerry Krause for a reason. This just solidified it for me. And honestly, like it's cool to see all that kind of growing up in that era and being such a hardcore Bulls fan and being a hardcore Michael Jordan fan. Like even if you can see the hat, this is from the Birmingham Barons when he went to play minor ball.
Oh yeah, when he was the White Sox. Yeah.
So seeing the first two episodes, one, I didn't know. I think the second episode was the most surprising to me. Like seeing all the stuff from Jordan, I guess being a kid kind of shrunk his UNC career, where I was like, well, he hit that one shot and then he went to the Bulls, but like he was actually there for like another 3 years. So it was cool to confirm that he actually went to college. And then, but then the second episode hit the hardest because of seeing Scottie Pippen and that contract thing. Now, on the one flip side, Scottie Pippen's ex-wife came out right after on Twitter and was like, don't feel bad for him. And they showed his career earnings. He made like $109 million. The majority of it he made after he left the Bulls, I think with Portland. But seeing how he kind of, because of his family and taking care of his family, I think it was his dad and his brother were wheelchair bound. He said, I needed this guaranteed money. And he took like a 7-year deal for $18 million.
Yeah, 7.
And during his best years, he was making like $2 million. And mind you, this is another reason I hate Jerry Krause. When Jordan retired the first time and Tony Kukoc came on board, Tony Kukoc was given like a $24 million deal. He was made the highest paid Bull ever. Yeah. And if you didn't think that drew bitterness, like that was one of those just wild things. And seeing how it looked like Jerry Krause was just so hell-bent on blowing up that team, maybe so that he could build something himself. Like after Jordan retired, he immediately wanted to trade Pippen, and he got very close to trading Pippen to Seattle for Sean Kemp. And that probably would have put Seattle over the top. They probably would have won a championship. And then if Jordan came back, Jordan and Kemp, that would have been a weird dynamic. But watching the episodes, one, I laughed my ass off when they were talking about, what was it? They called the Bulls before Jordan got there the traveling cocaine circus. And I think there was a RotoWare came out with a shirt right after they had the old Bulls traveling cocaine circus. And I was like 2 seconds from buying it before I was like, am I going to wear this to drop my kids off at school? Like, I can't buy that shirt. But seeing that and seeing how, I guess, with it that Jordan was when he saw them in a room with like weed, hookers, and blow and was like, if they raid this place, I'm going to get in trouble. That's one of those, pivot in the road moments where he could have gone one way and he didn't, and it meant something that he went a different way. And seeing how hell-bent he was on playing after he had fractured that foot, and seeing that the front office rift started so far back. You're talking that this rift started before the Bulls were fighting the Bad Boys, which is the next episode, which I'm wildly looking forward to. Yeah. Because I still think Isaiah Thomas is garbage. Same thing for Bill Laimbeer. So anytime I can watch him get beat over and over, I appreciate it. And watching those things and Jordan's response to Jerry Reinsdorf when Jerry Reinsdorf said, if you had a headache and I gave you a bottle of aspirin, there were 10 pills and 9 of them would heal your headache, but one of them would kill you, would you take it? And Jordan going, well, it depends on how effing bad the headache is. Like, that just, and especially with everything going on now, it was like with the pandemic, it was somebody made that thing with Skittles before that. If I gave you 100 Skittles and one of them would kill you, you'd stay the hell away from the Skittles. And like hearing Jordan be like, well, it depends on how bad the headache was. I'm like, well, it depends on how bad I wanted Skittles, Yeah. But yeah, it was, it's great watching this. I'm glad that they released it early. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that they got footage of that team enough to make this long form documentary where it seems like every episode will have juice to it. Where you see like a lot of the documentaries that come out now that are multiple episodes, you're like, that could have been 2 hours.
They kind of go like
they stretched it. Yeah, it was like I watched the McMillions thing and I watched the Tiger King thing, and I'm like, I didn't need 6 episodes. Like you could have saved me 3 hours of my time and just packaged it into one neat movie. So, but this seems to have so much backstory behind it that it really speaks to how that team and let's say Jordan to a larger extent just changed the entire game. We kind of forget that the NBA was financially not in the best place before Jordan came along, and now it's probably next to the NFL one of the highest generating sports in the world. And
well,
a lot of
I was gonna say part of it is because the NBA, even more than like the NFL or something, is actually has become a worldwide sport, right? It's probably soccer, and then hockey and basketball are probably right next to each other in terms of worldwide appeal. Maybe even basketball more so because of its appeal in China and warmer countries.
Yeah, I mean, even they showed some footage of the Bulls. I think it was before that final season going over to Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And they were playing in exhibitions in Paris, and they were shorthanded the whole time, but they still gave them that show because people wanted to see them. You look at the Dream Team in '92 going to Barcelona. It was just, and then you look at the influx of foreign players coming in now. That's a direct result of that. That we don't see Luka if we don't see those '90s teams going through. If we don't see Drazen Petrovic doing what he did for that European core. A lot of people forget about Petrovic because he was, he died so early. But his time on the Nets was very, very big to European players. So it's good to kind of get this background on it. And I think that it'll really speak to kind of just how huge that team was. And mind you, this is, the end of their second three-peat, where they're probably just as strong as they were when they were, I think it was 72-10. Yeah, because it was 72-10 because the Warriors wound up being
73-9, but they lost the title. Yep.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, I think there was the part of the documentary, they were showing pictures from all the different years, and you see Pippen in a sweatshirt training during that 72-10 season, training during the playoffs. And it had the Bulls logo, and it said, "Don't mean a thing without the ring." And that was, something that spoke to everyone when the Warriors blew it in the finals.
Yep.
Because it doesn't matter. We were 73-9. Where's your championship? Doesn't matter. You're done. And that's why, that Bulls team, whenever there's a question of, one, are they the best team of all time? Yes. There's not, there's a competitive fire there that you don't see with, before or after. And two, is Jordan the best player of all time? And I'm always going to argue yes, because of how much he changed things. Is LeBron probably a better physically gifted player? He's taller, he's stronger, he's lankier. He can go from more places, yes. But did he change the game like Jordan did? No. LeBron has been the face of the game, but he didn't change it. It's very much in the same way that Kobe was so great. I would say Kobe had more of an impact than LeBron did. And the funniest thing for me is to see young kids on Twitter and whatnot now watching the documentary, or even before that, going, "Oh well, Jordan played against like insurance salesmen and garbage men," and
Patrick Ewing and Reggie Miller, insurance,
like, no, these guys were substitute teachers in the off season, and I'm like, LeBron plays against like Instagram models and SoundCloud rappers. So what are you really saying? Like, do you think everybody in the league right now is competitive? No, they're not. They're not at all. Like, there's 12 men on teams that are earning more than Scottie Pippen did, but that's because the Bulls did so well to get you so much money globally that they could get paid that. Like league minimums are wild. There are players now that, like, yeah, they gave him a 7-year deal for $100 million. I'm like, who is he? Who?
Yeah.
Who? I don't understand. Oh, well, he averaged 8.4 points last year. And I'm like, what? It's wild. It's wild. But they don't get there without this team. So I hope that there can be a new generation of reverence for that team and that run that they went on. And if Jordan wasn't suspended for gambling for 2 seasons, they probably would have had 8 titles in a row. So,
well, maybe we'll find out if that was the true reason why he went and took a break for baseball.
We'll act like that happened.
Yeah. We know that rumor. For those of you who don't know the reference, there's been that long-running rumor that, I mean, it's actually a really terrible story, that part of the reason why Jordan's dad was killed and was all this was because of his gambling debts and because of all the trouble he had gotten in with all that stuff, and that's why he went to go play baseball, was to get away from all of that. So I don't. Who knows if they'll touch on it? Who knows if that'll come up? But that has been a long-standing rumor circulating around the NBA and sports for 25 years now. So
yeah, David Stern gave him a shadow ban, but you know, before David Stern could be on the documentary, they killed him. No, I'm kidding.
Oh God.
It's all a big conspiracy.
But I want to go back to
I still have the Michael Jordan number 45 jersey that I bought the day that they came out in my attic. So there's a lot of things around my younger brother just gave me a Jordan, I think it's 1996 All-Star Team Funko Pop. So
nice.
There's a lot of stuff around my house, Jordan autographed pictures and all this stuff. And my wife grew up watching Jordan also and rooting for the Bulls. You know, it's not a stretch to say, you know, half the time that her older brother comes here, he's gonna have a Bulls hat on. So there's kind of that whole familiarity with the team, and I still watch them now. I'm wildly happy that they got rid of Gar Forman, and they just need to get rid of John Paxson next, and then we'll be really happy. And they pulled the GM from, I believe, Toronto, who actually played against Jordan in I think it was either Paris or Barcelona. They had footage of him guarding Jordan. So hopefully there's brighter days for the team ahead, and they don't keep giving stupid money to players that don't deserve it. And you know, one day I'm going to make sure that I get to the United Center for a game, because I still have not had that happen on my bucket list.
Nice. Well, good. Yeah, good luck with that. And as a Knicks fan, I definitely feel the pain of giving money to stupid players and not what they're doing.
Stupid owner.
And the stupidest owner. But yeah, geez, yeah. I mean, at least you got 6 titles in your lifetime. I'm never gonna get any.
I remember texting a friend of mine when the news article came out that James Dolan had coronavirus. I texted him the article and I went, "It's happening. It's happening." But yeah, that I think that I feel worse for the Knicks than any other team, even being a Bulls fan, and we haven't won anything in 22 years. But being in New York, I can't help but see the Knicks, and I'm just like, yeah, really? Even when you guys got Carmelo Anthony, I was like, they're not winning a title. Carmelo Anthony's not going to win the game. And then, you know, just seeing how they got Jeremy Lin out of there, like, as fast as possible. Like, any success, they were like, get it, make it leave. Right now.
What a shame. But anyway, yeah, enough about that terrible team. Also,
he can't even bring himself to talk about the Knicks.
I know it'll make me sicker than any virus that's out there right now. But it was a good point though that you mentioned that the ring is the thing. It doesn't matter without the ring. I mean, it's true. It's like that Golden State team is a footnote in history because they didn't win at all, right? That's it. It's the same as, like, I mean, I go back to baseball, is that whenever anybody talks about the 98 Yankees versus the Mariners team that won 116, I'm like, yeah, that's all nice that the Mariners a couple years later broke the Yankees American League record, but that Yankee team won the World Series in 98. That Mariner team lost to the Yankees in the League Championship Series. So at the end of the day, don't come to me with the and now look at where the Mariners are. So screw them. But it's true. It's all about the ring.
Teams, they can't be in the conversation for the best team of all time because you have to win the championship. I don't care if people go, oh, well, they won all these games and that made them tired. Well, that sucks. Sucks for them because they're not champions. There's nobody on that team.
Them tired. That's such a horrible excuse. Any fan, just anybody listening as a sports fan, if you complain your team is too tired, I'll give you an example that Ray and I joke about all the time. 2009, I'm from Philadelphia. Phillies, Yankees, right? The Phillies, notoriously, I'm told, follow me here, they all had apparently the flu or they were all sick in the World Series. And I just said what you said. That's their problem. Like that doesn't take away from the Yankees winning the World Series. It doesn't work that way, guys. Like, don't get sick at the World Series next time. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's I don't like excuses. I don't like excuses as a sports guy. And again, I work behind the scenes in the sports a lot. That's why I'm saying that. But I don't want to hear you're tired because you had a great season. You didn't have the mental edge to win a championship. And Jordan always had that. Kobe has always had that. LeBron has that, right? Whenever you have a conversation with the greatest of all time in anything, they've had that. Doesn't matter who it is. They have the edge. They're willing to die to win. That is what it takes to win at that level in professional sports. They will die to win.
And that's the thing. Like, if you look at Jordan, speaking to the flu game, he had a game where he had the flu and he was still by miles the best player on the court. And if you see that, if you're playing on a team sport and somebody walks in and they have the flu, well, you got to take them out back like old Yeller, and that's it.
Yeah.
If you want to win, you have to be stronger than anybody else. And that's why I look at, the game today. It's built on 3-pointers and it's built on load management. And that comes back to Jordan's second season when he broke his foot. They tried to do load management with him. And, he could only play a certain amount. And they showed in the documentary, I think he was going out he was on like 30 points or something like that. And they were tied with like 15 seconds left. And he had hit the time limit that the front office set for him.
Yeah, it took him out.
And he's begging his coach, let me in. Like, it's 15 seconds. Who cares? And that is not something that you'll see today. You just see players that are fully healthy, that are like, we had overtime last night, and I'm not going to play today. It's like, and as a fan, do I want to buy a ticket on the off chance that these guys are like taking a night off that night?
No.
Like, it's wildly ridiculous. And I think that you see people like, oh, well, I'm avoiding injuries. Michael Jordan would drive the lane and get punched in the nose by Bill Laimbeer, and he stood up and he kept playing. If you get injured in the game today, one, it's a fluke, or two, your training team sucks. Because there's so many things that can take care of these players now, where like back in the day, it was like in Major League, they had to, pull the cord for the ice bath or whatever it was. Yeah. Like all those different things. There was nothing in the 80s and 90s that would take care of people. It was alcohol and steroids.
My other favorite part about his leg injury was from the documentary that I didn't know was that he convinced the Bulls to let him go back to North Carolina, and he was training with the North Carolina guys when he's supposed to be resting. Like, here's a guy, like, again, you equate this to today's athlete. He's been told by his doctor to rest. So he goes back to his college basketball team. And again, this is still a time where Michael Jordan could get away with that. There's no way he could do that today, right? And he's training with his college guys, and he says, like, that's how I rehabbed. I got back and I was at a full game shape by the time they put me back in because I'm playing with these college guys all the time. Like, that's the will to win. And I'll even say today, the best athletes today that win, that's the key. They're like that too. Like Alex Ovechkin is like that. Alex Ovechkin is one of the only guys in the league. If you break his nose in a game, he's going to score 3 on you. Like, and he's notoriously known for getting hurt and then coming back in the game and scoring more. Like, when you look at the best players in the game today that win consistently, that's what it looks like. I'll tell you another quick story too, real fast, about a team you're not going to like, the Detroit Red Wings, a team I don't like either. But there was this great story about 1997 that Sergei Fedorov, I can't remember I think it was his arm, but something happened where, like, something was detached, right? And he's in the locker room, and Kasatonov goes in there. These Russian guys, and he goes, I don't care if your arm's broken. You get the shot, you get back out there. And he took the shot, and then he got back out there and started scoring. And they found out afterwards, like they had stuff that was really torn up in there. But like Fedorov says, like that's when I knew what it would take to win. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you don't see that too much anymore. And like again, some injuries, like you get a massive concussion, I get it. You know what I mean? Like if it's your brain, but if you hurt your leg, get in there. I don't want to hear you hurt your leg. How do you get cramps? How do you get cramps in 2020 at all? How are you not?
Well, I mean that's one of the things. I think that's one of the major knocks on LeBron. If you look at it, like Jordan has the flu game. Jordan's trying to play on one leg. All this different stuff. Kobe tears his Achilles. He walks right back out there to hit 2 free throws before leaving the game.
Yeah.
LeBron got cramps and was carried off the court in the NBA final.
Yeah.
Final because of cramps.
Yeah.
Like that. There's no. You don't come back from that and turn around and be like, yeah, no, that's the GOAT. He would do anything for his team to win.
No.
The GOAT forgot to hydrate.
Stretch it out on the sideline. Take a timeout. Do a stretch and get back out there.
But, somebody said to me one time, do you know how much that hurts? I was like, this is one of the few injuries I do know how it hurts. Everyone knows how it's bad. Like
yes,
I know
everyone knows how a cramp.
I know it sucks. I know he probably couldn't walk in that moment. Like, there's no way you're getting someone to carry me off the court. I know how much it hurts. I know he probably couldn't walk. You sit there for a minute till it's done, and you walk. I remember watching that. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but you did. And I was like, dude, like, come on, man. Like, you got carried off like a prince.
I think that is more. It's and what I see a lot in the game now is these fabricated moments of excellence, where Jordan legitimately had the flu, and that iconic picture is him, being almost held up by Scottie Pippen as they're going to the bench. Yeah. I think what a lot of guys do nowadays is they over-exaggerate things so that there is this, this is my moment. And it's like, well, we found out that it was a cramp. Like, if I'm being carried off the court and I get into the locker room, I'm taking a steel chair to my leg and I'm breaking the thing. Because that's the only way it's going to work. You know what I mean? If you now you got carried off the court because you had cramps. So now you're a bitch. Like, you're not.
If you can't tell from my nose, I'm a hockey player. I play hockey my entire life, right? And I used to say to my father, and again, I played in the 90s into the 2000s. I used to tell my fathers at all my games, I used to say, if I don't get up, something's really wrong. Right. And I've had so many injuries playing hockey. There's only been one time I didn't get up, and I would have gotten up too. But I'm saying is they kind of held me down. You know what I mean? But I used to tell them, if I don't get up, something's wrong, because there was nothing that was going to keep me down. I said, I'm going to literally have to break something in my legs for me to stay down. You know what I mean? But like, that was my attitude of just, you play through it. Not, here's the thing. The hockey audience likes to claim that as a hockey thing about how tough we are. And to be fair, they're not wrong. But again, Jordan was tough. Football players are tough. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not going to go into soccer
because his leg out of the hip socket and kept on running.
Exactly. Like I said, we're not going to talk about soccer because they're not tough. But in baseball, it depends. But toughness is part of winning. You know what I mean? It's part of winning.
Those soccer moments are becoming more prevalent in the NBA. I still think that the NHL players are probably the toughest players in the world, because it's like, I lost all eight remaining teeth, but I'm going back out there.
Rich Beverly had a heart attack in the first period, and after they resuscitated him, was like, "Can I play the third? Can I come back out there?" Yeah, like he literally was pronounced dead for several minutes, and they resuscitated him. And he's like, "Can I go back out there now?"
Yeah, he didn't.
And I like watching hockey.
Probably the right choice.
Atmosphere is so good when you're watching hockey live. I went to a Rangers game. They were playing the Hurricanes because a family friend is on the Hurricanes. I don't know if you know Brett Pesci.
Yeah.
But yeah, he that's my friend who actually, I'm not wearing his shirt anymore, but my friend that was a detective, that was his nephew. So we went to see him at the Garden, his first game at the Garden. And there's so many traditions in hockey that respect the player, the community, and the team that's so cool, where this kid's coming back to New York. He grew up in New York, and Carolina was like, okay, you're going to lead out of the tunnel, but all the players held back, so he got to go out onto the ice alone.
Yeah.
Because it was, it's MSG, it's his family and everything. It was just so cool to see. And then those guys are just beating the tar out of each other, and you're like, I don't know how they're still standing, but rock on.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I know we have one diehard Carolina Hurricanes fan that listens to our show, so he'll appreciate that story.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we've talked about tough guys. We talked about The Last Dance. Hopefully we're going to see some new tough guys in the NFL. This weekend also was the NFL draft. It was Dan is a fellow Giants fan. Lee, of course, is an Eagles fan. Let's say because I'm going to go off. Let's start with the Eagles. Lee, I think overall you guys had a very good draft. You took 3 wide receivers with your 10 picks. You traded a couple. You also got Prince Tega Wahango, offensive tackle out of Auburn, in the 6th round, which I think is a steal. But the big question, of course, is did you take the right receiver with your first pick, Jalen Reagor, over Justin Jefferson? And why on earth did you take Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round? Those are the 2 big questions coming out of the Eagles draft. Let's start with the receiver one first. To me, Reagor's a nice slot receiver. He's not bad, but Justin Jefferson, explosive, deep threat, a better, to me, what you think of more as an all-around NFL wide receiver. And also, Reagor's only a smaller guy, only 5'10". Why do you think you guys went with him over Jefferson, who was taken the very next pick by the Vikings?
Yeah, look, so it's important to give some context here. And Ray will, again, Dan, you just met me, which is nice to meet you again. But, I take a GM look at these things because I've been a GM, right? And so much goes into drafting that I think the audience doesn't see. And I'm part of that audience when it comes to the NFL draft. So I think some of the things you got to look at when you look at the first round specifically is some statistics. One is that half the players typically don't pan out. Right. So I don't like these picks are super, super important to every organization, but it's also at the same time, you have to understand the statistics that are going into these things. So you got to find a guy that has the ability. You got to find the guy that fits into your system, fits into your family, fits into your mindset, is coachable. And there's a lot of factors that go into this. Now, I'm not saying Jefferson doesn't have those traits. I'm just saying that Reagor has a better probably interview than he does. And he seems to fit into the Eagles styles through Howie Roseman and the coach's attitude, right? And maybe the way they think he might play with Wentz, which we'll have to talk about in a minute, I know. But, it's just one of those things of they went with the guy that their gut's telling them to go with. The Eagles, this is the funny thing about the Eagles. The Eagles, in my opinion, have drafted very well in recent years, even though the fan base thinks every time they draft it sucks, right? So I'm not upset with it. It's one of these things like you gotta let it pan out. Like when was the last time a large number of first round picks came into the league and had a massive impact? It's happened, but it's not every year. You got to draft based on all the information that you have, and importantly for the fans that watch the draft, the information you don't know. There's so much going on in the Eagles camp we don't know about because we're not there, right? We're not there. We don't understand the thought process. Fine. What is Peterson talking about with Roseman? And, what are their plans for this? And when you move into Reagor, I'm sorry, when you move into Hurts, I mean, everybody's freaking out about the Eagles taking a quarterback. Ray texts me 3 seconds after that pick, like, you got a quarterback controversy. You got a quarterback controversy. I'm like, no, we don't, Ray. We don't have a quarterback controversy. Like here's the deal. It's like if you guys both tell me this. If you take an honest to God, if you just look at the scenario here, right? This makes a lot of sense. And I'm not trying to defend anything. I'm just saying that like, look at the scenario. You have a starting quarterback that has not been healthy 1 year of his career. He has not played a full season. He knows that. Okay. We won a Super Bowl when he was injured, right? It's the most important position on the team. The guy's not going to step up right away and play right away. Wentz is the starter. I'm sure that was made very clear. I told Ray last night, I would be surprised if they had not talked to Carson Wentz right before or right after this pick just to explain what they were thinking out of respect. That's the way Peterson is with his team. I've read his books. He seems to be pretty open. Again, I'm not there. I don't know. All right. Why would we not fill a massive gap in that backup quarterback position when we know we have a quarterback that gets hurt all the time? It just doesn't seem like such a stupid pick to me when you look at it from that advantage. Not to mention, this will be the first time Carson Wentz is the elder quarterback on the team without someone else older than him in that backup position that's mentoring him. So now they're throwing even more leadership onto Wentz. But, yeah, I don't think there's this scenario where it's like, at the beginning of the season, is Wentz going to start or is Hurts going to start? Like Wentz is the starter. He's going to be the starter. He's a great quarterback. It's an important position. We know he doesn't survive seasons right now. If he does, great, and we can develop this other quarterback for our future. I just don't understand the thought process of people freaking out for the most important position on the team, right? Keeping in mind we were drastically injured at all positions last year, and now we're healthy. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know. I don't understand why people freak out at the draft all the time. You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen.
No, you don't know. I mean, and you don't know. You also don't know if Peterson did reach out. I mean, we of course know now it's becoming infamous about the Aaron Rodgers was supposed to have a radio spot or something, and then when he found out about the draft pick that the Packers made, he stormed out and blew off the spot. Like he refused to talk after they took a quarterback because he was so furious and disappointed because he thought he was going to get a weapon, somebody who much similar to Wentz. Most of his receivers last year went undrafted or were late round draft picks where were not the talent level he's used to throwing to, and obviously the Packers offense suffered because of that. But I think also what it is that when you have a starter, and I think it's similar to the Rodgers situation, I think that both Green Bay and Philadelphia reached by taking quarterbacks with the picks they did. I think you could have easily gotten your backup quarterback of the future, or a possible starter later in the draft. Great talent. The kid that came, Jason, out of Washington went in the 4th round. Jake Fromm out of Georgia went in the 5th round. Like there were still good quarterbacks later in the draft, and I feel that yes. Maybe for you guys, a position of need was backup quarterback. Same thing with the Packers. But to take those guys in the 1st and 2nd rounds respectively, to me, I think that's why more than anything why people are freaking out over these.
Well, here's the other thing about Hurts, though, just to counter that real quick, is he's a quarterback who's known to be a great teammate. He had obviously been in this position before where he was the starter, and then Tua came in and essentially took his spot in the championship game.
Right, because he was playing like garbage, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like if you look at it from that standpoint, this kind of makes sense. It's a good fit. He's a good teammate. He wants to learn. And he gave the interviews that he gave after being drafted as an Eagles fan, I was very impressed. Like he was very, very respectful of the team. And he didn't come out and say like, well, look, Wentz is the starter. I'm not going to try and get his job. I like that someone's going after the job. I like that healthy competition. Look, time will tell. Time will tell. But again, I urge Eagles fans to remember how injured our receiving core was last year, and that it's not, the guy who got us in the playoffs was Carson Wentz last year. There's just no controversy to me who's going to be the starting QB next year. And I think I'm not against this pick. I'm not saying we couldn't have picked another wide receiver or something like that. I'm not freaking out about that pick like everybody else is. That's all I'm saying.
Dan, do you have any thoughts on the Wentz-Hurts situation?
I think a lot of background to that is one, given Wentz's injury history, you probably want to pick higher and get them as much talent as you can for a backup, just in case. And if you don't need to use them, great. You know what I mean? If it comes down where you don't have any injuries and that's a consistent thing rolling forward for years and years and years, if you have a solid backup quarterback, you could probably get some solid chips in a trade if you need to. If you're more reliant and more confident in Wentz's injury history. And I think a lot of the kind of tension behind it probably stems from fans like us who have lived with the Giants constantly trying to get Eli Manning to retire for years. So we're like, well, that's what they're all trying to do, So I think that it's a solid pick on their choice, and they're going to be able to find talent through the league. So whether it comes in a trade or whether it comes in a draft, they can make those things happen because there's a lot of teams that are just trading off chips and waiting. And there's a lot of teams that are putting all their chips on the table. Tampa Bay is throwing everything
Everything.
Kitchen sink got everything.
Yeah,
They've got 1 year. They've got 1 year to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you this much: more relationships with professional athletes. I'm mildly rooting for Tampa because Ali Marpet, who plays for Tampa, he was this big when I used to feed him pizza at my pizzeria as he was growing up. So the next time I saw him, he was this big, and I was like, "Look at you."
What kind of pizza did you serve him, man? Jeez.
It was called D-ball.
Super Mario mushroom pizza. That's it.
Yeah. So if the Giants aren't successful this year, which I doubt they will be, I'm kind of rooting for Tampa to just get it done because at least it's not New England. You know what I mean? I can accept it. It's like they all went to a retirement home in Tampa. It's like, all right, fine, just give them this one.
Yeah.
You know,
Not to mention, Giants fans would love if New England
Super Bowl.
didn't win without, Giants fan would love having. You would gloat so much watching New England if Brady won with Tampa. I know how New York is. You would love that.
1,000%. And I believe, isn't the Super Bowl in Tampa this year?
Yeah, I thought it was. It might.
Once Brady went there, I remember hearing something like it would be the first time that a home team got to have a Super Bowl in their home stadium, like if Tampa got there. So I think that
wasn't it in Miami? Didn't they make a big deal? Was it back to back in Florida? Because wasn't last year in Miami or?
Yeah, I believe so.
So I think that's
I always route it through the WWE. It's the WWE does WrestleMania and then the Super Bowl's there. So the city always uses WrestleMania as a warm-up to see this, and then they adjust. Like next year, WrestleMania is in Los Angeles, and then the Super Bowl is in Los Angeles the year after that.
Right, the new stadium.
And
yeah.
It always seems to keep happening. So I assume that the WWE will be in Vegas 1 year before Vegas' stadium hosts a Super Bowl or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
Alliance Stadium, I think it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, actually that's a good call. Yeah, so yeah, that makes sense. That next year would be in Tampa. And we will get into wrestling a little bit later. But speaking of the Giants and their disappointments and failures and how terrible they are and how they're going to be awful for years to come because they're an absolute joke of an organization.
Stop complaining. You've got 2 Super Bowls. Just shut up.
4.
I
have
can't
4
stand
Super
it when you
Bowls.
just.
I have 4 Super
Shut
Bowls.
up then. That's even
Not
worse.
that you were alive for. Oh,
Yeah,
wait,
no, I was
alive.
86. I was alive in 86.
I was alive. Yeah. Wow. Well, 2 that mattered, 2 that I could recognize.
Right, the 2 that I was a small child when the first 2 were won, but
listen,
no, I
am not gonna let a Bulls fan and a Yankees fan feel bad. Screw both of you. I've got 6 championships. Oh, the Yankees got champions. I've got 2, you idiots. 2. That's it. My whole life.
All sports.
I will say this though. We might have those championships, but that whole setup that you guys have by is it Lincoln Field?
All the stadiums right next to each other.
Complex.
Yeah,
The Wells
and
Fargo
the
Center.
Xfinity Center right in the middle there.
Yeah.
Is brilliant. I went there for the Royal Rumble 2-3 years ago, whenever Ronda Rousey debuted, and that is such a perfect setup for sports and events that we were hammered by the time we got into Wells Fargo, and those seats are a little tight, by the way.
I tell you something. You can have the sports complex if I can have 27 World freaking Series, okay? You can have it, all right? Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy our sports complex and drinking complex. But I would do anything for the championship. Are you kidding me right now? I just can't stand when Ray just goes, oh, the Giants. Oh, God, the Giants. Why? Give me a break. Ray, I'm never going to give you a free pass, Ray, ever on that. Sorry. Dan, go ahead. You're the guest.
I would take the 2009 World Series trophy out of Yankee Stadium, remove it from history, and bury it on the site of the old Yankee Stadium, sprinkle some water on it so that I could raise that stadium back up and get rid of the Yankee Stadium that we have now.
There you go.
Like, give up championships to get back the old stadium.
I agree.
Immediately, like, you feel like it's Wall Street whereas the old stadium was blue collar, work your ass off New York.
Yes. I have been to both. I have been to both, and like it's the little things about the old Yankee Stadium, little things like the seats, how close the seats are, how intimate it is to the field, even to the for the men listening, the trough in the bathroom, versus the everything about the new Yankee Stadium, which is essentially a museum if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So look, what's the only field left is what, Wrigley maybe, that has any kind of
Wrigley
feel like that.
Wrigley and Fenway are the last two.
Fenway, yeah, and maybe Camden Yards a little bit, but not really. No,
because that's new too. That's all new too. And I mean, even after Fenway and Wrigley, the next oldest stadium is Dodger Stadium, and I can tell you, folks, it is a horrid stadium that should be. I don't know what this $500 million renovation is going to do, but I mean, they should just have built a new stadium. Honestly, Dodger Stadium's a dump.
Yeah. I thoroughly feel fortunate that I was able to go to the old Yankee Stadium before it was done. Like it's one of the few sport moments that I was like, I'm really glad I got to do this.
Yeah, new Yankee Stadium's not as good as old Yankee Stadium. It's not as special. The magic isn't there. Maybe that'll change in time. But I've only been there once and was not, and before I moved to the West Coast and was not impressed. Anyway,
$50
affordable either. I've been there once since it opened, and it's been open for 12 years now. And that was when my daughter was a baby. We went there because that's you can't. It's way out of your price range. It's way out of Yankee fans' price range. Put it like that.
It's not about Yankees fans.
That's the problem. Well, that's the problem is that people forget that baseball used to be affordable. People used to be able to, that's why there was it was great that you had 81 home games a year. You could go see 2-3 ball games on a regular income. Now you have to save up for it like you're going to friggin' Disneyland. Anyway, the Giants had a terrible draft.
Feel bad for you.
The Giants had I shouldn't even say a terrible draft. They started off with a strong draft. I didn't mind them taking Andrew Thomas out of Georgia with the 4th pick. The rumor was they tried to trade down desperately because he still would have been there at 7, 8, or 9. But they couldn't find the price was either too high or they couldn't get enough for it. And so understandably they stayed put. They took the guy they like. All 4 of the offensive tackles who went in the first 13 picks were all very similarly rated. So it's really kind of pick your poison. But this is the most day one ready tackle, and he will probably be starting at right tackle game 1 of the season with Soldier still at left tackle, and then transition over to left tackle. After that, I don't know what they were doing. So, I mean, look, I get that they took Xavier McKinney out of Alabama, who is the safety, the best player available there, number 1 safety probably in the draft. But even though I guess you add depth into your secondary, they took 2 more offensive linemen after that, again, trying to bolster that. And then the Giants had 5 picks in the last 2 rounds. They took 4 linebackers. So they recognize that this is a problem. They recognize that this is a position where we don't have any depth and really no starters. But do you really think you're going to be able to solve this in the 7th round of the NFL draft? You run a 3-4 now, and you have 0 linebackers. So in the 7th round, you draft 4 Oh, here's our 4 starting linebackers for our 3-4 now. We solved the problem. My gentlemen, putting on my mask. You bum. You moron. No, you had such better talent in the 2nd and 3rd rounds that you could have taken a linebacker there. Bourne, the kid Bourne out of Wisconsin was still on the board until halfway through the 3rd round. Maybe you would have had him if you hadn't given away your 3rd round draft pick to a bum you don't need on the defensive line. Oh my gosh.
So what grade would you give the Giants so far out of the draft?
I give him a C.
I knew you were going to go with the C. I thought you were going to go like C minus.
Yeah,
I'm like, by his pitch, I think it was.
Yeah, look, they really mucked up the late rounds of the draft, in my opinion. Really, from rounds 3 onward, it was just, what are you doing? The first 2 picks I'm okay with, and honestly, those are the 2 guys who are going to probably make any sort of impact on the team. But you had 10 picks. You literally wasted 80% of your draft, like, on guys who probably, like, at best, this guy Cam Brown at a Penn State, who he'll be a special teamer. That's your best bet of the 4 linebackers you took. Like, seriously, like, all these other guys, nothing. They won't be on the team they will be on the practice squad if you're lucky come day 1. I mean, and God knows, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Carter Coughlin out of Minnesota ends up being the next Lawrence Taylor. But let's be realistic here. Like, the kids will be lucky to be on the practice squad. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh. Anyway,
again, it's a much different approach.
You got to get into my mode. You got to get into my mode with the Giants. You just, like, you relax and you don't check anything until the playoffs, and then when the playoffs start, you go, "Oh, they're not there. All right."
Yeah, I can't do that, Dan. I can't do that. I can't do that. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the Giants draft. Dan? Do you have any?
He just told you his thoughts.
I think that I have such little expectations because there's this consistency across the teams that I really like, where they hold on to their front office for way too long, and that's where the Giants are right now.
Yep.
I saw the Bulls finally just make a change, and that makes me happy, and it makes me more invested in the team. The Giants, I don't know how long they're going to keep this going. It's a recurring joke at this point. And I mean, even the Yankees, for as successful as they are, I've been begging for Brian Cashman to get fired for over 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
It's just, he wants to be Billy Beane, but he has the budget of a god. Like, just spend the money.
Stop being cute. Stop being cute and go get the biggest arm on the market.
Yeah. Billy Beane never won a World Series.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
great point. It's a great point. But he did have a movie made about him. Huh?
Yeah, well.
Nobody's making a movie about Brian Cashman.
I know.
I know. If the movie that they made about you has Jonah Hill, you've already screwed up. So, it's just, when I look at the Giants, I had no expectations going into the draft. I have no expectations for Daniel Jones. I have no expectations for that entire team. I think that they want people to be what they're not. I think that they could literally have put a decent line or a good line around Eli and got another 2 years out of him. But it is what it is. They're making decisions that they think are rebuilding the team. I expect them to be rebuilding for at least another 2 or 3 years before they're even remotely competitive. And I think that will wind up with a different quarterback. It'll wind up with a different wide receiver core. It'll wind up with a different front office if that happens.
They'll give Joe Judge 2 years, the same as they gave Shermer. Joe Judge will probably go similarly. The Giants, by the way, the worst winning percentage in the NFL over the last 3 seasons. If Joe Judge and if the Giants don't have any sort of success, which I don't think they will, I think we're expecting at best a pair of 6 and 10 seasons coming up. After that, they'll let go of this guy Judge, and then finally Gettleman will go with him. And then you'll start to see some real change. And I agree. I don't think Daniel Jones out of Duke is the quarterback of the future. I don't think he's got a future. I don't think that. I do like. Again, I think Thomas is actually going to be a good lineman. But Nate Solder is a shell of what he was. I think Hernandez is still good, but he regressed last year under Shermer because again, Shermer was a joke. What was that?
It was terrible.
He was terrible. Oh, no, completely agree. He was absolutely terrible. Pat Shermer, we've said this before in the show, classic example of a guy, great coordinator, not a great coach. He's another Norv Turner. He's a Wade Phillips, a Romeo Cornell. Like, he's one of these guys who give him one side of the ball to focus on. Just give him one side of the ball.
Didn't he get hired as a coordinator like 24 hours after he was fired?
I think so.
It was like almost immediate that he found a job. He's just not a head coach. And I think that when you get 2 to 3 years out and this whole thing fails, which inevitably it's going to, I think the one benefit that the Giants have is that they're the Giants, and it's a New York market, so a lot of people are still going to want that job versus Jacksonville. Like, if somebody was like, all right, well, no, there's no reverence there. But the Giants, there's still a lot of history behind it, so you want to be there.
Yeah, 4 Super
so they'll
Bowls,
be able to
8
find
NFL championships.
Yeah.
No,
But this is not, we'll be able to have the same conversation a year from now and watch the same thing happen.
And I'll explode in the same way then as well. So to real quickly wrap things up here, come full circle, of course, Dan and I met each other through video games. Just wondering, Dan, here as we wrap things up, what you playing nowadays? What you got on the old Xbox or PlayStation 4 or whatever?
I'm addicted to Call of Duty, like always. I've been playing Modern Warfare and Warzone, like wild. It's funny because I think the first event that I ever covered, I think you were at, was Call of Duty XP 2011.
Back in 2011, yeah.
And that was almost my introduction to working in video games in a sense. So it's been 10 years or so that I've been doing this stuff, but some things don't change. Warzone is so solid. It's just I have a core group of guys where there's always at least 3 or 4 of us on, drop in and just strategy. There's a lot of little things that Call of Duty doesn't let you know that makes it easier to, if you can pull off the strategy, you can get to the end circle really easily, because they have different like recon contracts that you could do. And each recon contract that you do shows you where the next circle is going to be. And you can do like 7 of them and it'll show you like, this is where the final circle is. So one of us goes out and steals a helicopter and just starts dropping guys off doing these things. And you collect all this money, and we have it down to almost a science. Awesome. And then other than that, I've been looking a lot at Xbox Game Pass and just trying to get into some of the things that are on there because why not? And Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming there. I played Red Dead Redemption 2 online for about a couple of days before I was like, I can't do this. I don't have the time for this. It was, I started a posse and they said that, that one of the things was that for the posse to gain any rank, I had to be online. So like I recruited all these guys to like join my posse and I was like, yeah. And then they were like, we can't even do anything with the posse unless you're online. I'm like, I'm not online often because I have children and responsibilities. And they're like, this sucks. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to delete the game now. So maybe I'll spend the quarantine time to do that story. But otherwise, I mean, Call of Duty is just really solid this year. I give Infinity Ward a lot of credit. They brought a lot of people back from Respawn, and I think that's a world of difference. And they brought 2 writers over from Naughty Dog, and they did an awesome job on the story.
Yeah.
And even the nugget at the end of the story, and I mean, I guess spoilers, but no spoilers.
No, yeah, it's teasing Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah. Out there, Ghost is in Warzone, where basically Modern Warfare 2, I guess Modern Warfare 2, or Modern Warfare 2, whatever the hell they do, will be the return of Task Force 141. So it's like nobody ever died. I'm psyched for what they're doing. And then it's right around that time of year where they're supposed to announce another Call of Duty. So I don't know if I'm going to care about another Black Ops because Modern Warfare is so good, but it feels very weird right now because it's like it's late April, announcements should start coming, all these things surrounding E3 should be popping up, and there's no E3. And it's very weird. And my strategy for E3 this year has led to me fighting with Airbnb because the minute that the Lakers got AD and the Clippers signed Kawhi, I figured out that the NBA Finals would overlap with E3.
Right.
So I used Airbnb. This person said, I have a 3-bedroom apartment, 5-minute walk from the Staples Center. We all know that it shows that circle. That circle is a lie, and you could wind up in Skid Row before you even know it. So I'm looking at the pictures of this thing, and the apartment complex had this weirdly shaped pool. And being the psycho that I am, I used Google Earth to fly over downtown Los Angeles and find the pool. So I found out exactly where the place was, and it was actually a 5-minute walk from the Staples Center. So I booked Airbnb in August, and I booked 8 nights, 3-bedroom apartment. They didn't know what was happening. I booked it for $1,500.
Nice.
Wow. That's
and now
awesome.
I can't. So now I'm fighting because they're keeping half of the money.
What?
What?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
So they're like, no. And Airbnb support said, anything through May 31st. I'm like, this is July 14th. So I'm waiting for more pandemic sanctions so that I can reply to the Airbnb email and be like, give me my money back. So, because my company would like the money back.
No, for sure.
But yeah.
How about this? I'll fly out to Los Angeles. We'll all go to Los Angeles and just do this anyway, because we know the airfare is going to be really cheap. Let's do it, guys.
It is so wildly cheap. I was looking at flights right before they canceled it, and round trip was like $500, and I was like, whatever. And now I go to JetBlue, and it's like, really? They're like, really? You want to go to Los Angeles? It's $120. You're like, what? I'm like,
round trip Los Angeles to Philadelphia is $61.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Ray won't do it.
I won't do it. But
you don't want
to. No, because the sad thing is, I was actually supposed to come back east in May, and I had to I spent $300. I spent $300, which is still a good price for round trip. Go from LA to the East Coast, but they because American Airlines is the worst of the worst. They said, well, we're just gonna give you a credit. You can use it within 18 months. I'm like, what if this isn't done in 18 months? Like, give me my money back. Like, and they won't. And it's just, that's it. And so I have to eat the loss.
Taking care of everybody. But I will tell you this: the funniest tweet that I've seen probably in this whole thing was, I keep getting these emails from airlines saying we're all in this together. When my luggage weighed 52 pounds, I was on my own.
Yes. Yeah. That is the best tweet. Yes, for sure. Yeah, no, and that's great about. I hear everybody's getting into Warzone. I've been playing a lot of MLB The Show, because that's what I've been streaming to kind of help with sports, but also what was that?
Got to get you some sponsors.
Hey man, I'll take sponsors. Sure, why not? I love sponsors. I joke because I get fast food every night.
I'm his manager, Ray. I'm your manager.
By Wendy's and Taco Bell.
Let your manager take care of it before you sell the farm. Dan, what are we talking? I'm just kidding.
The 3 people who watch me every night. I love you all. Thank you anyway. Thank you for tuning in every night. But yeah, no, I've been playing MLB The Show. I've been also playing personally. Well, actually, and you'll hear this on this week's episode, the regular episode. Been playing The Persistence, which is was a VR game that came out a couple years ago and is now being ported to all the systems as if it wasn't VR. Kind of like what they did with Super Hot. You know, where it's just like, okay, well, here we need to actually sell some units and make money as a company. So here it is on Xbox and Switch and PC, even though it was originally a PS4 VR exclusive. So I've been playing the port of that for Xbox One, and it's okay. But obviously, there's a game that's made exclusively for VR and then is ported to just controls. There's a couple of mechanics that don't translate as well. But it's all right overall, and I'll get more in depth with that in our regular episode. And I just finished Resident Evil 3, the remake. So,
what was that?
Do you like Resident Evil?
I've liked some of them, but I just feel like there's been so many that I'm like, well, I could pass on, I guess. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think it was really well done. I think it was really good. I appreciate the changes they made from the original. Obviously, it's not just the updated graphics and now the third-person camera, which of course makes things infinitely easier than it was all the way back when on the original PlayStation. But with that cinematic locked isometric camera they used to use. But I think this was well done. I'm worried about the idea that they're going to remake Resident Evil 4 now, because to me, that's when they really made that that change with the cameras and kind of started to get a little more actiony, and started to make it where, make it a more of an accessible game. And I don't think you need to remake 4 at this point. I think
this is a weird thing with the remakes for me. From what I understand, they're making significant changes to the stories and games. Like, I don't understand this whole entire, remastered versus remake, versus reboot. Like, it feels like there's been a lot of cash grabbing this generation.
Oh, yes.
Where there hasn't been as much work, and I'm glad that there's a lot of push towards backwards compatibility, because I feel like, even at the start of the generation, it was like, they put out Call of Duty Ghosts, and then Xbox One came a week later, and they're like, well, do you want to play it on? Buy it again. And you're like, wait, I just bought it for, I don't.
For 360,
so, I'm confused by, I saw Kingdom Hearts just had a remake, and I'm like, and when I'm seeing people tweeting about it, they're talking about how different it is. And I'm like, wait, if you remade the game, why didn't you just make a different game with this story that apparently is so different than the first one? I don't know if I'm just old and out of touch, but I feel like remaking these games, your resources would be better put behind. I understand it's probably cheaper to remake versus do something completely different. But I feel like it's putting gamers in a really kind of shitty position of like just playing the same things over and over again and paying for it over and over again.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's just like the movies, man.
It's true.
Yeah. Video games have finally caught up to the cinematic industry.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. Like, you think about Nemesis or Resident Evil 2. I mean, that was my childhood. So you tell me, we're remaking it. Well, I gotta play that. I played it for my Final Fantasy VII. Is literally my childhood. Like, I gotta play that again. And we hear people talk about going to these worlds now and like, oh man, I'm back. And so it's the same nostalgia factor. And then here's the other thing too. Like, you've got kids, I've got kids. Like, not that I'm introducing my kindergarten son to Resident Evil, but like, there's something eventually that's going to start happening. Like, hey, you got to play this game because I played this game when I was your age. Like they're just just please God, cinematically, please don't make Back to the Future again. Thank you. That's a totally different side thing.
I got my daughter Animal Crossing, and I had never played Animal Crossing before, and we started playing it, and she named her island and all this different stuff, and then Tom Nook comes up to her and he's like, well, here's this bill, and she's like, Daddy, I don't want to play this anymore. I was like, welcome to Captain Shop.
Yeah.
It's just very, very odd.
In my home, we let Uncle Ray pick the games for my son.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give
him. If Uncle Ray plays it, my son. Oh no, we played just Mega Man 11. That's what.
Yes,
it's good enough for Uncle Ray. Good
well done
for Logan. That's how we.
Yeah, exactly. Logan gets Super Mario Odyssey and Pokemon Sword and Mega Man 11. I'm not giving him Animal Crossing. He doesn't even know what debt is. He doesn't even know what debt is at 6 years old. Anyway, but I guess some people love simulating having more debt in their life. But anyways, that's their beef. Have fun with Animal Crossing. Not for me. Anyway, Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. We've taken up enough of your time. Yeah, no, dude, it was great talking with you. It was great catching up. Yeah, man, we can find you on Twitter at Dan Hevia. You can find I don't know what else you want to promote, if anything.
You can follow at PowerSpike. We just got rid of the underscore. Thank you, Twitter support. So we have that, and I don't use Instagram enough. So yeah, just Twitter. And
there you go.
Dumb ramblers. And actually follow Terramana Tequila because it's pretty good. I'm going to get more after this is done. Thank you, Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, yeah. If The Rock wants to send me or Lee a bottle, let us know.
The show.
Yeah, if he wants to come on, Mr. Johnson, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, we would appreciate if you want to be our next leaderboard interview guest, sir. Just saying,
We'll
just putting
allow
it out
it.
there. Yeah, we'll just put it out there. We'll have your people call my people, which of course is Lee. Lee is my people. And on that note, thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, Dan, thank you for coming on. And we will see you. We will see you in a few days with the next regular episode of Geeks Who Like Sports. But this has been our latest leaderboard interview. Good night, everybody.